Hello, my name is Kibret. I am a development finance advisor at Development Reimagined, an African-led international development consultancy headquartered in Beijing with offices in Kenya and the UK. The current narratives around African debt is just that debt levels are at their highest level yet, and that African debt is unsustainable. But that's not exactly the case for many reasons. First of all, debt levels are often considered from the 2000s onwards and are in absolute terms. And what this does is it shows a rapid rise in debt levels over the last 2 decades. And this drastically distorts the picture. African debt to GNI levels today are at the same level as the mid-1980s. Second, African countries are often classified as high risk or in debt distress. The firm that I work for, Development Reimagined, we've done an analysis on IMF, World Bank debt sustainability analysis. And what we found was that this analysis and narrative is highly problematic. We need to really keep in mind that developed nations have developed with much more than 60% of their debt to GDP ratios. I think the best way to make the current debt architecture more equitable is through greater borrower agency. So when borrowers seek to gain access to external financing, they often enter into negotiations where they have very limited bargaining power, and they are put in a disadvantaged position. In the current system, creditors have way too much power, and if we want more equity in the system, a borrowers club will go a long way in ensuring that. So what is a borrowers club? Essentially, it's when debtor countries, let's say African countries, they come together, they negotiate the terms of their debt with creditors, and they take out loans together. So countries need to be able to share their experiences and negotiate practices to ensure that they get the most out of the current financial system. Good debt refers to loans that countries take that go into productive sectors, and these are loans that are critical for a country's economic growth, whether it's investing in vital infrastructure projects or even for poverty alleviation. On the other hand, bad debt refers to loans that go into unproductive sectors and that are not sustainable. China and US are partners for Africa. They're not actors, because referring to them as actors really downplays African agency. I think the best way to understand the commitment that the US and China have for the growth and prosperity of the continent is to practically look at what these two countries have done and the commitments they have made on the continent. The US committed $55 billion to the continent over the next 3 years. From that $55 billion, that also includes some other commitments that the US has made to the World Bank, for instance, in the IMF. African countries do look for different things from different partners, and there are lessons to be learned from both sides.